Hello everyone, this is the third and the last part of historical background of Constitution. Sorry for delay because there is some technical problem in my system, so I will not be able to publish weekly current affair. It will come from February and next video will be on constitutional development. Please share and subscribe video. So let's start. Government of India Act 1935. Before going to in detail this act, we need to understand the background of this act. Okay, we need to understand that in Government of India Act 1919, British said that as you demanded provincial autonomy, we have given to you, but it was not exactly right way that the Indians have demanded. It was just a fake way. We said first we need to understand what is provincial autonomy. Provincial autonomy means to get back the lawmaking power, and political power that was earlier taken by the provinces. Means I have told you in earlier slides that the centralization process have been taken place, so we need to give again the powers to provinces to get the provincial autonomy. So we have demanded that there need to be true sense of means division of power, means federation to be done, then only we can get the provincial autonomy. And bicameralism, there was not actually done the division of power. We got the diarchy at provincial level. It was divided into transferred and reserved subject. Okay, reserved were totally in hand of governor, and this transferred were administered by the governor with the aid of minister, so he can also take this. Actually it was not governor, it was viceroy. I may have used this word wrong earlier slides, so I need to correct it. It was viceroy. Okay, at that time, or we can say governor general, but we use the right word is viceroy. So viceroy was having more power and he was most powerful at that time. Okay, so there was no actual division of power. We understand. Now we need to understand bicameralism. Did we get bicameralism true sense that we have demanded? We want Council of States, today we say as Rajya Sabha. So we want this form, upper house, but they give the Council of State, which was just an advisory body, so it was not given. So we did not actually get the provincial autonomy at provincials. But the one more difficulty in getting provincial autonomy to India was that the princely states, they were having the suzerainty in their areas, so they did not want to give back the powers or their suzerainty at their level. So we did not get actually the provincial autonomy. So we need to know that was Simon Commission, means commission to be established after 10 years, but there was too much retaliation of the Government of India Act 1919. There was non-cooperation movement and for the many retaliation process were there, so it came before 2 years. Simon Commission chairman was, everyone know, Sir John Syme. I will be telling in detail in the history part, but all the struggle of independence, okay, it was not a rebellion, just a struggle to get independence. He was the chairman and there was no Indian. He came to review the act and to know the drawbacks and whatever, what we can more reform. Or so there was no Indian. How can they discuss the provisions that need to be made for the Indians and without an Indian? It was major drawback. It was tabled in 1930. Then we know that in 1928 the Nehru report came there to know the constitutional reforms that to be done. That it was asked to give recommendations. This report was discussed in round table conference, RTC, we can say 3 round table conference were done, and there was a report there. White paper was passed by British Parliament. That was the major thing that we used in the 1935 Government of India Act. So these things were taken as means recommendations and discussed before making the reforms in the act and to make the Government of India Act 1935. Okay, so it was too long. Okay, and it was further it was having divided in 2 separate acts. First was Government of India Act 1935. Next was Government of Burma Act 1935, and it was having, you can say, 159 sections and 6 schedules. We can say it having the 321 sections and 10 schedule. This you can remember, but for Burma this is not too important for our competitive examinations. We need to remember for India. Thought of giving a federation, 3 lists that were divided at federal level, central level, provincial level, and concurrent level. That can be, both can have power at it. That today we have means in 7th schedule of our constitution. Okay, and there was also we getting federation we can get the autonomy. Again there was difficulty in between that princely states. Okay, princely states again did not want to give their suzerainty. They did not want provincial autonomy. They were enjoying their suzerainty. Okay, and so princely states were not influenced. Again, that abolished diarchy at provincial level and established diarchy at central level, that transferred and reserved subjects. And Council of India was abolished, you need to understand this, and RBI was established in this act, and I will be telling you when it was for the made, and there was a limited franchise. And so I am adding some more points in it that I have earlier discussed, and I am discussing in more detail. That I have told you that this act was divided in 2: Government of India Act and Government of Burma Act. So by this Government of Burma Act, Burma was made a separate nation in 1937. Okay, and next thing was the establishment of federal court, and it was established in 1937, and it was actually functioned till the 1950 when our Supreme Court was formed, and it was a judicial body at that time. And now we have Supreme Court as a judicial body, highest body, and at that time also this we can say was not highest body. Privy Council was the highest body that sat in the Britain, but in India it was the highest body. And we know that I have told you that Council of India was abolished by Charter Act of 1833. It came to enforce, and now it was abolished. After Council of India was abolished, advisory body was made in name of this. Main aim was to get federation. Did this act actually gave us federation? I think no. Provincial autonomy, no. We did not get this both, because the difficult अड़चन जो थी हमारे बीच में वो थी princely state. वो अपनी suzerainty princely state. So we did not get main, यहाँ पर अड़चन थी हमारी princely state. Because they did not want to give their suzerainty, and we know that after Indian Independence Act 1947 they were included in India. Because in this act they were not included because they did not accept it, they were not influenced. So what did happen after? There was a doctrine of paramountcy. This literally withdraw the suzerainty that was in hand of princely states. So it was their choice. They want to be included in the federation or not, so they finally include. But why did there was a great criticism that why did Britishers did not do this provision in the 1935 act? This was the great August Offer 1940. So let's see the background. There was a long demand of Constituent Assembly. In 1934, Aman Roy was the first person who demanded for a Constituent Assembly. We were earlier Purna Swaraj, now we want full dominion status. Okay. And we want political and legal independence. Okay. In Europe, Hitler attacked Britain and they want their own survival. There was attack in Asia also by imperial power of Japan. So Lord Linlithgow, who was viceroy at that time, declared India in war with Germany and without telling India. Congress minister resigned on this issue on 22 October 1939 because 3rd September 1939 Viceroy Lord Linlithgow declared India will be fighting with Britain in World War II. There was a Congress session in 1940 in which Congress passed a resolution that Congress can support Britain government in World War II if there will be provincial national government in set up in the center. Lord Linlithgow on 8th August 1940 gave offer we will be directly giving dominion status if you support in World War II, and this was called August Offer. They gave offers like they will be forming a Constituent Assembly, okay, and there will be a veto power to minorities. In future, any law will be passed with the consent of minorities. There will be a war advisory council, okay, in which Indians will be included, and there will be expansion in the executive council of Viceroy, which Indians will be included. And there was a Cripps mission ahead which formalized August Offer. They said they will be giving dominion status in Constituent Assembly only if it is accepted to Congress and Muslim League. So Muslim League did not accept it. Okay, they want Pakistan in separate Constituent Assembly. So there was no proposal about Pakistan in this offer. Gandhi, in retaliation of Cripps mission, launched Quit India mission movement because this was not giving us full independence. Cabinet mission plan 1946. Let's see the background of it. 19 July 1945, government changed in Britain. Earlier there was conservative in power. Winston Churchill was the prime minister. Now Clement Attlee, who is from Labour Party, okay, came into power, and now we know that World War ended at the time till 1945, and he thought to transfer the power to India, so he sent 3 members to India. So first was Sir Patrick Lawrence, and he was the Secretary of State for India. Next was Stafford Cripps. He was President Board of Trade. Next member was A.V. Alexander. Okay, and he was the First Lord of Admiralty. All these 3 members were cabinet minister of Britain Parliament. So they that's why this was known as cabinet mission plan. So it reached in India 24 March 1946 with 2 objectives, that to make Constituent Assembly for making constitution for India and to make interim government. They discouraged INC, Muslim League to end political deadlock, that Muslim want Muslim separate nation, the Muslim majority nation, and INC do not want partition. We know that. and they discussed for almost 3 weeks. There was no conclusion, so they said that we will be laying out a proposal. Let's say that there will be no undivided India and no separate electorate. They laid this on 16 May 1946. They gave 3 recommendations. First was about provincial grouping, and next was about princely state, and next was about constituent assembly. So let's discuss one by one this. First we will be discussing about provincial grouping. So India was divided into section A, section B and section C. Section A was having United Province, Bihar and Orissa, Madras, Central Province, Bombay. Section B was having Balochistan, Punjab and Sindh. Section C was having Assam and Bengal. Section B and C were having Muslim majority area. So now we know that every section or every province will be having their own constitution. Okay, and this 3 section will be making a union constitution also, and there will be a weak union that will be having only foreign power and finance power and communication power. Okay, and which province will be having the maximum power, and they can change their group after 5 years, and after 10 years they can demand for change in constitution. So about princely states, cabinet mission said princely state will have all subjects and residuary powers and will get freedom from British paramountcy, and they have choice to join Indian Union or make an agreement with British government. So next was about constituent assembly. This will be having a members from provincial assembly and princely state. Okay, 93 members will be from state and 293 members will be from provincial assembly. Okay, and they will be forming a union constitution and interim government in future. Jinnah accepted this demand on 10 June 1946. Okay, according to him, he thought that section B and section C were having Muslim majority area, so in future he will be able to separate it from the mainland and form Muslim majority area, and will be having a more area than he demanded for Pakistan. INC did not accept it. They said they will be accepting the demand only if you did the grouping not compulsory. Cabinet mission accepted their demand and gave decision in favor that grouping will not be compulsory. You know that Muslim League want grouping compulsory, so they did not accept the demand. Indian Independence Act 1947 of British Parliament on 25 1947, British Prime Minister Clement Attlee declared that British rule in India would end by June 30, 1948, after which the power would be transferred to responsible Indian hands. The announcement was followed by agitation by the Muslim League demanding for partition of the country. Again on June 3rd, 1947, British government made it clear that any constitution framed by the Constituent Assembly of India formed in 1946 cannot apply to those parts of country which were unwilling to accept it. This is very important point. You need to remember in this act. On the same day, 3rd June 1947, Lord Mountbatten, the Viceroy of India at that time, put forth the partition plan known as Mountbatten Plan or 3rd June Plan. Okay. The plan was accepted by the Congress and Muslim League. Immediate effect was given to the plan by enacting the Indian Independence Act 1947. There are some features that I will be telling you about this act, and you need to remember this act because it's a very important act. And almost maximum things comes from this act and 1935 act. These two acts are very important. It ended the British rule in India and declared India as an independent and sovereign state. Okay, their head will be elected now by their people. From August 15, 1947. There will be a partition and two domain nations, independent domain nations will be created, that will be India and Pakistan. Okay, and there will be a right to secede from the British Commonwealth. They abolished the office of Viceroy and provided for each domain a Governor General who was to be appointed by British King on the advice of Domain Cabinet, and His Majesty Government in Britain, that is government in Britain, was to have no responsibility with respect to the government of India or Pakistan. They having no responsibility, they are not at all responsible. It empowered the Constituent Assembly of the two domains to frame and adopt any constitution for their respective nations and repeal any act of the British Parliament, including Independence Act itself. It empowered the Constituent Assembly of both the domains to legislate for the respective territory till the new constitution was drafted and enforced. Okay, they can legislate according to them. No act of the British Parliament passed after August 15, 1947 was to be extended to either of the new domains unless it was extended thereto by law of the legislature of the domain, according to their legislature. If it is extended, they can do that. It granted the freedom to Indian princely state either to join the Indian domain or Pakistan domain. They are independent. It dropped the title of Emperor of India from royal titles of the King of England. That's all about the historical background of Constitution. Now I will be proceeding further. This is the important acts before independence. Okay, and there are some major important acts.